Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken. Today, guys, we are going to be talking about Rosemary's Baby on 4K, this latest release from Paramount, the 55th anniversary edition. But look, we're going to talk about this 4K release. We're also going to talk about how it compares to the Criterion Blu-ray that came out in 2012, whether or not you should upgrade this if you have it in your collection. If you don't have this in your collection, it's way out of print and you're not going to be able to get it. But there is also a standard Blu-ray option. So we're going to talk about, is this worth grabbing this 4K edition? Now, I do want to note that this will be coming out in the upcoming Paramount Scares box set. So if you plan on grabbing that, it is already included in that. So you have no need to get this standalone edition unless you're just a crazy person like me and want all the different editions that you can get because you freaking love this movie. But look, guys, before we get into talking about it, I'm gonna dive deep into Rosemary's Baby today. We're gonna talk about the transfer, the movie, the audio. We're gonna talk about the special features, again, how it compares to the Criterion. And we'll do a little unboxing of this as well. You know, this non-controversial slipcover that everybody loves. That's not the case. But before we get into all that, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We talk about physical media here on this channel. That is what we do, guys. 4Ks, Blu-rays, owning the movies that you love, all that stuff there behind me. We talk about it every single day. So if you like that kind of thing, hit the subscribe button and then make sure to turn on those bell notifications for all future videos because I have got tons of reviews, unboxings, coverage of all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media coming in the next few days, the next few weeks, honestly, the next few months, the next few years, if we're lucky, right? Physical media is not dead. It is alive and well. But let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Let me talk about the movie Rosemary's Baby. I do like talking about the actual films themselves. But before I get into that, I feel like I have to say this. Or I'm just going to get a slew of comments down below, and I'm probably still going to get these comments. But yes, this movie is directed by Roman Polanski. Yes, he's a very controversial filmmaker. He's done some shitty stuff in his life. He's not the best guy. He's a dirtbag. I understand that, but I'm the type of person that can separate the art from the artist. And when a great filmmaker makes a great film, regardless of what he's done in his life, I'm going to recognize that. And Rosemary's Baby, to me, is one of the greatest horror films of all time. And rewatching this again just solidified that for me even more. I think this is a damn masterpiece. I think it's a perfect film. It is up there, honestly. Like, Exorcist is my favorite film of all time. It is up there with The Exorcist for me. Like, it might be my top 10 favorite horror films of all time, possibly my top 5. Like, this is such a great movie. And I don't know about you guys, but like witchcraft, cult stuff, like that just unsettles the hell out of me. That's why The Witch is like my favorite horror movie of the entire 21st century. And I do want to say, if you are a fan of A24 films and, you know, the more independent horror stuff that we've been getting in the last 10 years, you know, stuff like The Babadook, those real like artsy horror films, art house horror films, like Rosemary's Baby was doing that back in the 60s. Like, this is the real like origin of all that weird cult stuff. I'm sure somebody's going to point out another film that came out before this, but this came out in 1968. So this predates The Omen. It predates The Exorcist. It predates all of these like extreme horror films in the 70s and the 80s. Like, this is what came first. And this is such an A24 horror film. And again, I know A24 just came out in the 2010s, so this has nothing to do with it. But like, I feel like when I'm watching this, I can see the origins of like where every single idea came from of all like the A24 horror movies, but with the exception of like X, because that's just totally different. And some other horror movies are different as well. But like the main ones, like The Witch, like Midsommar, like Hereditary especially. I remember watching this. I watched this for the first time back in 2018 when I bought the Criterion Blu-ray. This is actually my first ever Criterion Blu-ray that I bought in the Barnes & Noble's 50% off sale. I just kind of heard about that online, and I went in there and I bought this. This is my very first one, and then I think it went out of print like shortly after that. So I think I got this in 2017, watched it in 2018, but I remember after I got done watching this, I was like, oh my God, like that's where Hereditary came from. Like that's where movies like Hereditary, The Witch, you know, Midsummer, so many others that I can't even think of off the top of my head, but this was like the origin of all that stuff. The Wicker Man, that came out, you know, I think The Wicker Man was 1973 as well. So much, you know, the stuff that's in The Wicker Man, I feel like came from this movie. This really started all of that, like, weird, ritualistic cults, like witchcraft type stuff. This is really like, I will say, if you have not seen Rosemary's Baby, but you appreciate all of the art house horror films like Hereditary, like Midsummer, like The Witch, all that stuff, even The Lighthouse a little bit, all the Robert Eggers, Ari Aster stuff, I would say definitely, if you haven't seen this, I'm not saying you have to get the 4K, but definitely go back and check this film out because it is where it all started, and it's so ahead of its time. Like when I'm watching it, it's so unsettling. It creeps me out, and it does it with such subtlety all throughout the film. Everything is so subtle, and everything. To say that this movie is a slow burn would be an understatement, but I don't think it's a slow burn in the way that it's a slow movie, because I'm completely engaged like all throughout this film and what's going on. It's a mystery. You're like drawn into everything that's going on with the character of Rosemary, those people in the apartment building, her neighbors, her husband. You know there's something shady going on in that apartment building with all of the characters that are surrounding her throughout the entire movie. You don't quite know what it is until you get to the very end, but you know something's going on. And I would say that watching this movie back in 2018, knowing what was going to happen and rewatching, this is my second time watching it, it made it even scarier and made it even more unsettling because I knew the outcome and I knew what was going to come and what was going to happen. And to watch all the characters and how they acted with Rosemary and just how they were trying to shrug everything off and almost like make her feel like she was crazy, I found to be so nefarious, so evil, so disturbing, unsettling. Like that it just gets under my skin. And then the ending is just like the best. I love the entire like ending 15 minutes because you get this big shock reveal. And then it just goes on. And there's other stuff that happens afterwards. And what happens after that is even more unsettling. And the movie just creeps me out. Like I'm not trying to spoil the movie, but it is a 55-year-old movie. But there's a scene in the beginning, I'll just say this, with her and her husband laying in bed. And you hear the chanting from the other side of the wall. And that kind of stuff just really, really gets under my skin and just unnerves the shit out of me. But yeah, Rosemary's Baby to me is a masterpiece. Mia Farrow is just freaking one of the best horror performances of all time. I would put her up there with Ellen Burstyn as just one of the greatest horror performances ever. You know, Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It is up there. It's of that quality. Everybody is just phenomenal in this movie across the board. So yeah, Rosemary's Baby. I realized I was holding up the Criterion. I need to be holding up the 4K. Rosemary's Baby is just an absolute classic masterpiece. And I know it was directed by a piece of shit. I realize that. You don't have to comment 50 times in the comment section. I'm not going to bother because it was directed by. I already saw the comments when I did the unboxing video a couple days ago. I don't need it. I don't want it. If you don't want to watch this movie, then why are you watching my review of the 4K? Just get out of here, you know, and watch my other videos, but you don't have to watch this one and comment about how you hate Roman Polanski. I don't want to hear it. I just don't. I don't care. So just know that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the 4K transfer and picture quality here. So this is a native 4K restoration with Dolby Vision, HDR10, and this is what I'll say about this. And this is going to be a tough one to review because I did think that the picture quality was very good. It was very consistent. And I did pop in this Criterion after I watched the 4K, and there is a noticeable difference just in the overall clarity of the picture. Like you can definitely notice a lot more stuff. This is a lot clearer. But to me, the difference isn't that drastic. For this being a 2012 Blu-ray, and it is a Criterion Blu-ray, so it does have that greater quality to it. But for this being a 2012 Blu-ray, and this being an 11-year removed 2023 4K remaster, I just didn't see that big of a jump in picture quality. And to be honest, like the HDR didn't really even feel like it did a lot for the actual like coloring of the movie. Like it really looks similar. Like the coloring on this looked very similar to the coloring on this in HDR. You did notice a little bit of the darker hue over it. And the colors were definitely a little bit more intense. I noticed the fountain in the beginning was a lot darker green in this than it was in the Criterion. This was a little bit lighter green. And then some of the outfits that people are wearing, but I think there's a couple things that really stand out with this with the HDR. One of them is definitely Minnie, because she has all that makeup on her plastered all over her face, so all the color of her makeup, and then she always wears like really colorful outfits and dresses and stuff. That really stood out to me. A couple other sequences, all the stuff that happens like in the last 10 minutes really stood out to me. But I would say the dream sequence as well looked really beautiful and stunning. And I'm not going to explain what happens in the dream sequence, but there's some really stunning visuals in the dream sequence that I thought looked really good with that 4K. But it's honestly, it's a tough recommendation, just picture quality wise. We'll get into the special feature stuff here in a second, but it's a tough sell if you already have this Criterion. Now, if you don't have this Criterion, I'd say absolutely get this. This is most certainly the best this movie has ever looked. I'm not saying that it's worse. It looks worse than the Criterion. So, and since you can't get the Criterion anymore, it's out of print, I would say this is damn sure more worth it at 20 bucks than this is to get it like $80 or $100, whatever it's going for nowadays. So I think my big takeaway here is just picture quality wise, and I don't know what the Blu-ray looks like. The Blu-ray is in here, but I didn't pop that in. I did pop it in to see the special features, but not actually, you know, check out the picture quality. So there is a Blu-ray option as well to pick up for I think like $12 or $13 is what the Blu-ray is going for. But again, I would say just go for the 4K because the picture quality has to be better than that Blu-ray. But I would say that if you have the Criterion, I wouldn't worry about the 4K. I really wouldn't, because I just don't think it's that big of a jump. Now, if you don't have the Criterion, go ahead and pick this one up. Now, let's go ahead and get into the sound. And this is where another little bit of controversy comes in, because this does have the 2.0 mono track. And when I was listening to it, in the beginning, it's like the first maybe 5-10 minutes, like the actual like sound of the voices isn't quite syncing up with their mouth, the movement of their mouths. So when Mia Farrow's talking, like I noticed there was something off, and at first I thought there was just something wrong with my speakers, because you automatically always assume it's not the disc, like it's something wrong with your setup. So I turned off the 4K player, I restarted it, I turned off the sound bar, I restarted it, and I went back from the beginning and it did it again. But about 5 minutes later, I think around maybe the 10-minute mark at most, all the voices started syncing back up with the lips moving. So, and you didn't really have an issue again until I noticed a little bit of, maybe this was just a movie, but like I'm watching it 20 minutes to the end. And I think Mia Farrow's like on a payphone and her voice just sounded like really distorted there. And again, it didn't completely match up with her mouth. I don't know if that was just me, or if that's just the way it was made, or if that was another problem with the audio. And it makes me think it was something wrong with the audio because of what happened at the beginning of the film. So that is one criticism I can have of the sound. Otherwise, everything sounded good throughout the rest of the movie. I mean, it is the 2.0 mono track. The score in this is absolutely breathtaking. I love the score in this movie. So everything else sounded really good. It was just those, you know, little minor kind of hiccups. It doesn't really take away from the movie, but it is worth pointing out. Getting into the unboxing here real quick, you know, you got this slipcover right here. A lot of people didn't like the slipcover. I still kind of dig it. You got that little devil face that kind of, you know, blends in with her Rosemary and her stomach with the little teeth marks right there. I think it's very, you know, very symbolic of what happens in the film. So I enjoy that that little slipcover thing that they had there. Would I have rather just had the original poster art? Yes, I would have. But you know, this is fine, and it's a cool gimmick, and You know, I like alternate artwork. I do. I don't like it to always just be the poster because the Criterion was just the poster. So it's cool that we got something different here. But yeah, taking a look at the back, you got the synopsis at the top. You got some images right there. You got special features, which we'll get into here in a second. And then you got all the specs at the bottom. But you'll be happy to know that when you take it out of the slipcover, you do have the original poster artwork, which I think is really cool because you don't always see that out of the studios, you know, alternate artwork when you take the slip off. So I do think that's kind of cool. Sony's done that a few times, but you don't usually see that out of Paramount or Warner Brothers or Disney or any of the other labels. So I think that that was cool of Paramount to do that. Yeah, they gave you the artwork that was a little controversial, people didn't like, but underneath you have that classic artwork that you love. But you do get a digital code here. You also get the 4K disc and you get the Blu-ray disc, which has the special features. Now, all the special features that are on the Blu-ray disc are from the release that came out back in, I think 2020 or 2021 is when Paramount got the rights back from Criterion and they released their own Blu-ray. And I think in that release, they did the 50th anniversary Red Band trailer, which is kind of cool because it's like an updated modern trailer. I watched it of Rosemary's Baby, and it's a really well done, well cut trailer. So I enjoyed watching that. And then you got the original theatrical trailer. You have a retrospective of Rosemary's Baby. It's like, I think it's like 20 minutes long or something. And you have Mia and Roman. A special feature with Mia Farrow and Roman Polanski just kind of talking about their relationship in the movie. And both of these are older features. I think both of these were probably on the DVD release. But one thing I thought was interesting is there's no audio commentary on either this 4K or the Criterion. So I guess nobody ever bothered to do a commentary on Rosemary's Baby, or maybe they did a while ago and it just wasn't included here. But somebody needs to do a commentary on Rosemary's Baby. I don't know. Maybe nobody wants to touch it anymore because of Roman Polanski. I have no idea why. But let's get into the special features on the Criterion. Now, the Criterion actually has a ton of features that this one does not have, but this one has stuff that the Criterion doesn't have. It has those older features from the DVD. It has that 50th anniversary trailer, but this has, you know, a documentary on the making of the movie that has Roman Polanski in it, a bunch of people that worked on the film. That's like 50 minutes long. This has an hour and 10-minute feature on the composer of the film. It's like a documentary on the composer. It has a conversation on the person that wrote the sequel to Rosemary's Baby. So this has a ton of great features that, again, if you own this, even if you want to get the 4K, because it is better picture quality wise, I do think it's better. Even if you want to get this 4K, I still wouldn't give up this Criterion because it has over 2 hours of additional special features that is not included in this 4K. But, you know, this has special features as well. So you really kind of want both of these together to get all the features in one, which sucks. It always sucks to have different releases that have different features. It's like, can't we just get them all in one? But anyway, that's Rosemary's Baby on 4K. I hope you got something out of this review. I know I was kind of all over the place with it. I really think it's a good transfer. It's solid. It's definitely better looking than the Criterion, but I just don't think it's that big of a jump. And I don't want to recommend it to you if you already have a great disc right here, because the Criterion Blu-ray still holds up in my opinion, even though this is better. But you know, it's only $19.99. The price isn't too high, so the stakes aren't incredibly high. But I mainly just want you to watch this movie because it's freaking incredible, and it's just one of my favorite horror films of all time. So thank y'all so much for watching my review of Rosemary's Baby on 4K. If you want this 4K, I will link it down below. So be sure to like this video, comment down below your thoughts on this film, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications for all future videos, and follow me on all my social media accounts. Those links are down below in the description, and we'll see you next time.